Hello and welcome to the Today's Homeowner Weekly Podcast. We're here to help you with the challenges we all face as homeowners. I'm Danny Lifford.
And I'm Joe Truini. And each week, Danny and I are here on the podcast to answer any and all home improvement questions.
And we want to hear from you. Send us your questions or comments at todayshomeowner.com/podcast. Today's Homeowner Podcast is brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
From installing a smart garage door opener, to installing a bathroom faucet, to removing a tree, the Home Depot believes you can do anything, especially the things we have how-to guides for. Visit HomeDepot.com for thousands of tips, workshops, and ideas for projects, big and small. The Home Depot app. How doers get more done.
This week, we tackle a number of subjects, including how to repair drywall tape that's starting to turn loose, adding insulation to existing exterior walls. We're going to be checking in with Chelsea on her latest project, and also, can you change the look of a marble countertop, and will it hold up? We have all of that information, plus we got a simple solution coming up. Give us a little tease on it.
Okay, you need to find a stud inside the wall. You don't need an electronic stud finder. I just show you how to do it with nothing more than a string and a magnet.
All right, that sounds great. Well, you'll want to hear that simple solution and a whole lot more right here. Let's get started. Joe, I'll tell you, I've just about recovered from last weekend.
What's that?
Walking like 15 miles all around the...
at the convention, yeah.
The Orange County Civic Center down in Orlando for the International Builder Show and Kitchen and Bath Show. I'm telling you, it's back.
Really?
I mean, that thing is, I think there were 70,000 people there.
Wow.
It was busy, a lot busier than I thought. I didn't really know, about people gathering, but I'm telling you, it'd be hard to pack more activity in that building than they had. So it was very interesting that took place. And of course, people are always asking, what'd you see? What are new? Well, there's too much really to talk about, but you do see some trends from time to time there. One of the things I saw, of course, seeing a lot of people still being very conscious of indoor air quality. And I knew this would happen. Now they have all of this monitoring devices that you can plug right in the wall.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of them will even, talk to your air conditioner or talk to your dehumidifier and all of your exhaust fans in your bathrooms. And it'll just, once it monitors and senses something, it'll turn on the appropriate fan to get some air moving in the house. So I knew that was just a matter of time before they got those monitoring systems down to where they're, affordable. But anyway, that's certainly one strong trend. But another one, on the kitchen and bath industry show that runs with the Builder Show, man, they are making tiles, ceramic tiles, bigger than I've ever seen. I think I saw one that was like 2 foot by 3 foot. I would hate to have to lug that around and hang it. But I'm seeing more and more people putting these larger panels on the walls, because we're always trying to make those small areas in your home feel a little bit larger. But I see the designers are really embracing that, and I saw it all over the show.
Yeah, in fact, I just saw a statistic recently where a survey of home designers, kitchen and bath designers, that 81% of them were using large format tile in bathrooms. Now, large format tile is a term for any tile that's 12 inches or larger. So 16, 18, even 24 inches. I saw an article in Fine Home Building last year where they actually have tile, Danny, that are like 4 foot by 6 foot. But you need like 4 people to install. But that's how big some tile got. That's a little extreme.
A lot of trends, a lot of things that are happening. I was, it's kind of funny. Very strict mask mandate.
Right.
Nobody was allowed in at all without your vaccination, without a recent test, and the mask.
Right.
So there's thousands of people with masks for about an hour.
Oh, then what?
And then it got down to about 50% of the people for about another hour. By lunch, I didn't even see a mask, maybe 1 or 2 masks, because they were proud of their masks. They were kind of novelty masks, they had smiley faces. And I saw one now. This is, I've never seen this before, but a mask that had an LED readout running across the mask, and the lady that had it used her phone, and she could change the message to read anything she wanted, and it just ran across the mask. What it said on it is, "I said yes." So it was something that that she had just been proposed to, and her
Okay.
fiance gave her this mask and had it programmed. I said yes. So it was.
Then he let her wander around a convention hall with 70,000 men.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Give us a call, 800-946-4420, or you can send us an email by going to todayshomeowner.com/ask. Right now, we're going to Alabama, and David's on the line with us right now. David, welcome to the show, and tell us what's going on there in your home.
This is the first house I've had that had air conditioning in the attic, and it's right above the great room. And, of course, it's a zone system, and some of the dampers have started sweating and leaked through the insulation and down into some sheetrock runs where the tape is puckered. And I just wondered if there's an easy way to hide that pucker.
Well, I'll tell you, once that tape starts buckling or contorting in any way, it's almost impossible to get it to lay back down. Now, I have been successful in taking, a sponge, a damp sponge, and just not saturating it, but wet it down a little bit and kind of take your 6-inch drywall knife and kind of move it along there. Sometimes, if it's not too bad, it will flatten out enough that you can feed some drywall compound behind it, and then, of course, slick it down there and then put some more on top. I would say for me, it's only worked about 25% of the time. Usually, I'll have to take my knife, and I'll tell you what's a perfect knife to use on that is one of those little X-Acto knives, and just cut just that little piece of tape out that you need to. Use your joint compound and do it like it's a brand new seam. Now, all of this is assuming there's not that the water has not damaged the integrity of the drywall, and you usually can tell that pretty easy, but by just pressing your thumbnail against it, and if it starts cracking and flaking off, then you're going to have to put a larger patch in there. But hopefully, you can just utilize that same tape. And of course, it goes without saying, hopefully the problem has been solved in the attic, because if you still have some leakage there, some condensation is going to still affect whatever you do to patch it up.
Yep. Speaking of condensation, there are some runs that it's having that on the inside of the ductwork instead of the outside. And so when, high humidity and high heat, and so sometimes it just blows water out of the vent.
Oh yeah. I've seen that as well. I would really check that humidity in your home, though. You need to make sure that your relative humidity in your house is below 50%. And, you can get a little digital hygrometer. It's $10 and move it around different areas of the home. Just a little bitty digital readout. And it'll tell you real quickly if you're, more than 50%. If so, I need to get that air conditioning heating guy to adjust that system, because that will cause that to happen quite a bit too.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Okay, David, best of luck on it. We appreciate you being a part of the show today.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, take care. But, those kind of things, Joe, is one of those things, you can go and try to repair something like that and go, wow,
right,
that was so easy. I wish I'd have done that, a long time ago. Or you're sitting there for hours cutting and taping and everything else. That's always a tricky one. It emphasizes how important it is to address small problems quickly before they get to be larger problems.
Yeah, ordinarily you do have to cut and peel away the puckered section of that tape, because once it breaks free, it's not going to just stick on by itself. But you might as well try squeezing some joint compound or even just wood glue or something up behind it, press it in place and see if it holds. But the good thing about cutting and peeling it away, it does allow you to inspect the drywall to see if there's any damage, if there's any water damage, or if it's just too soft and mushy where it has to be replaced. 9 out of 10 times the drywall will dry out, as you said, once the condensation problem is cured. And as far as that condensation, David didn't mention whether these ducts are sealed and insulated, but that's the first thing he's got to check, because if they're not sealed and insulated, it's sucking in. If those joints are open and they're not insulated, there's nothing to keep that condensation from forming, and there's certainly no point in replacing the tape and fixing the ceiling now.
Right, exactly. And, a lot of times when you have that air handler in the attic and you have that pan underneath it, a lot of times you could have a little condensation on the pan itself.
That's right.
If your drain line, your primary drain line, is clogged or just not working as well as it should to move that condensating water out, then you're going to have a little excessive moisture there. So need to make sure that that thing is being serviced well and that that drain is working like it should. Right now we have Robin on the line that has an interesting little question here about some marble countertops. Robin, welcome to the show, and let us know what's going on around your house there.
I was just wondering if you could paint or glaze marble countertops. And then my other question is, if you can, is it durable?
Well, I'll tell you, we've been working with our friends at Deitch Coatings, which is something that we've used recently on a countertop. And I read recently that you could actually apply their coating, 2 different ones, to marble, cultured marble, just about anything like that, as long as you follow the instructions. And I'll have to say I'm pretty impressed. It's actual stone that's in. Now, they got several different ones, and I would encourage you when you get a chance to go to DeitchCoatings.com, and that's spelled DAICH, DeitchCoatings.com. Got some nice videos on there and so forth. But it's really just a weekend project, and it is very durable, especially, again, if you follow the directions and put the sealer on top of it and so forth. It's pretty amazing. So I think you'd be pretty impressed with it, and there's a lot of different colors that are available. So that might be just the solution. And again, only takes a weekend. And I think you could do an average kitchen for about $100.
Wow, that is awesome.
And they have everything in the kit that you need. I mean, the foam brushes, the rollers, everything. And, a lot of times people will say certain processes are simple. And then you start getting into it and go, wait a minute, what does simple mean here? But I, using it myself, I can tell you that it works very, very well. And like anything, you want to have plenty of light so that you can see the countertops really well when you're working on it. You'll have a little bit of drying time in between the different coats, but I think that'll be a good solution. You kind of gotten tired of the dark color of the marble, I assume.
Yes, definitely. And my cabinets are white, and I just want to brighten everything up.
Well, we actually use kind of a gray, kind of off-white coloring on the last one that we did. And it turned out pretty good. Ironically, it made this ugly laminate countertop look like marble. So, it turned out pretty well, but I believe that'll be a good solution for you.
Perfect. I'll send you pictures if it turns out beautiful.
Hey, please do, Robin. That sounds great, and we appreciate you being on the show with us.
You too. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
That's so ironic that most marble is a light color. It's either a crema color, crema marfil, they call it marfil, or it's white. And she has white cabinets and she wants a light color. You think marble would be perfect, but in her case, she has black marble.
And a lot of the granites that people have picked out, granite, of course, has been so popular over the last 10 years. A lot of people went for that darker color. I had that in my previous house, and boy, you get tired of that. I mean, of course, you get tired of everything. You know how we are. But then in my new house, I have, a lighter color. It just seems, I don't know, it just seems to be cleaner feeling and a little more space within the room.
I think generally speaking, we get tired of darker colors faster than lighter colors, whether it's a carpeting or paint or countertop, right? It's something about the dark color. It's really dramatic at first, but at some point it's like, it's too much.
I kind of cringe when I think about the trend there for so long, that forest green,
right,
and that dark burgundies, and that kind of thing. I don't know. We painted so many rooms like that, and then you turn around 10 years later and go, oh, this is so depressing,
Yeah, whose idea was that?
Yeah, exactly.
Today's Homeowner is brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
It's time for our Best New Product segment, brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done. From tiny leaks to ruptured pipes, every year, homeowners suffer from water damage. It costs thousands and thousands of dollars to repair. That's what makes a water monitor and leak detector like one from Finn such a good idea. Now, this Finn Plus unit measures tiny changes in water pressure 240 times a second to alert you to the moment a leak is detected and prevents costly damage by automatically shutting off your water. In addition to that valuable service, it can also give you daily plumbing checks, diagnose tiny drips and pinhole leaks so you can correct them before they become larger issues. And because it's Wi-Fi connected, it can give you real-time mobile notifications to alert you to potential leaks and give you the power to turn off your water remotely using the Finn app from anywhere. Best of all, it's very simple. The single device is installed on your home's main water line, and it'll let you manage your water throughout the entire house, even when you're away. Now, that Finn is spelled Phyn, and And you can find out more by going to homedepot.com. That's another thing, Joe, I saw down at the International Builders Show in Orlando. A lot of water monitors, a lot of detectors, and ways that you can monitor your home more. I mean, that's where it's all headed, to where you'll be able to tell exactly what's happening in your home at all times, from security cameras to water monitors to all kinds of things like that. So before long, with all the apps we have on our phones, will be as big as a plate. So.
And I'm sure your wife Sharon will be comforted to know that while you're away, you can turn the water off at your house while she's home alone. So
it's a whole new level of fun that lies ahead for me.
It is, yes. I'm sure she'll enjoy that.
Hey, let's get right back to the phones here, and we'd love to hear from you on the Today's Homeowner Hotline. 800-946-4420 is the number you can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's where we have Mary right now from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Mary, welcome to the show, and tell us about this insulation question you have.
Well, I have different parts of my house that are just cold, and I'm wondering if there was any insulation put in the walls to begin with, or if it's just settled down. And also in the ceiling, I have a bedroom that's over the garage, and that bedroom is always very cold. But the garage has drywall on the ceiling, so I don't know if there's insulation in there or not. And then there's a section of my dining room that overhangs the walkout basement, and there's about a foot deep of the floor that's really cold there, too.
What do you have on the outside of your home? What type of material?
There's brick.
Well, first of all, it is very hard, especially with a brick house, to pump insulation in those outside walls. Many times when you have regular lap siding, we're able to remove a section of lap siding all the way around the house, pump insulation in the walls, put the board back up, and you have insulation surrounding the living area. But with bricks, certainly you don't want to chip out bricks every 16 inches in order to do that. So you have to either access those walls from the inside through the drywall or the plaster to be able to pump insulation in there. But the thing that you might want to do first is to make sure the envelope of the home is as tight as it can be, because you want to make sure around those windows and doors you don't have any cracks at all. If you have any hose bibs or dryer vents, you want to make sure there's not even the smallest crack visible there, because that cold air is going to find its way in if you have those situations. And also making sure the attic is insulated well. You need at least 14 to 15 inches of insulation over all of those living areas that you can possibly access. I would make sure that's in good shape before worrying about those outside walls, because it is important to have that insulation in the outside walls, but you're dealing with a situation that it will be so costly to put that insulation in those outside walls, you probably would never really save enough on your energy bill on that. And Joe, I know that one of the things we've talked about before with the window insulating kits is another way to go to get you through some of those winters.
Yeah, I've done all that, and I've had the attic insulated.
Good.
So my question originally was, is there an inexpensive way to check for insulation in the walls? And I think you just answered that it's not. I guess you'd have to drill a hole every 16 inches and then pump it in and patch it later.
Yeah, if you discovered there was no insulation, I'd be really surprised if there was no insulation in a home built in Colorado. This home isn't that old, right? When was this built?
57.
Yeah, even in 57, they were insulating homes.
Yeah, I'm wondering, does it kind of pack down and go with gravity?
Well, it could, depending on the type. Yeah, depending on the type of insulation. And in 1957, they may have been using 2x4 studs on exterior walls, which would obviously hold less insulation than a 2x6 wall. But if you wanted to know if there was insulation in there, I'd be really surprised if there wasn't. There's a trick that I've used where you just remove the cover plate from an outlet or a wall switch and take a little wire hanger. Sometimes you can see the insulation, but if you can't, take a little wire hanger, bend a really tight hook on it, and slip it behind the box. Not into the box, but behind the box, the electrical box, and just stick it in there and pull it out. If there's insulation, you usually will rip out a little piece of insulation, fiberglass insulation. It'll be caught on the wire itself. I mean, that's one way. And sometimes you can just see it. If the hole around the box in the drywall is cut a little big, you can just see the insulation. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. But okay, so let's say there's insulation. Your house is still cold. What's the issue? Well, the bedroom's cold because you're over an unheated space. The garage might be insulated and it might be sheetrocked. Well, it definitely has drywall because fire code requires an attached garage to be covered with 5/8 inch drywall. But I'm sure that floor is insulated or the ceiling in the garage is insulated, but it's an unheated space, and that, so that's going to make your bedroom cold. I would have a contractor run a heat loss calculation. They'd come in and measure your space and check your heating system and make sure you have enough heat being delivered to that room.
Oh, okay. So it could be unevenly distributed through the system?
Right. You might not have enough heat being delivered to that particular space, or the other space, which is partially exposed to the outside because it's extended beyond the basement. So that's exposed to the cold air as well, especially in Colorado.
And it's a fairly easy calculation for them on that, Mary. So just call someone that you feel comfortable with, and I'm sure it'll be able to improve that a lot, get you through the winter.
Thank you.
Hey, one source for you to get a lot of really cool ideas and some really good information is to head over to checkinginwithchelsea.com. And Chelsea Lifford Wolf joins us right now to talk about a brand new project that's up on video right now online that you can see. Chelsea, welcome to the show, as always, and tell us what's going on with this particular episode.
Okay, well, my daughter Mary Helen is 6 years old, and I'm not sure why, but she has more purses than I do. And so we needed a storage solution to keep all of her purses. And I thought, well, I'll just build a simple shelf in her closet. And then it dawned on me, well, maybe other people don't know how simple it is to build a shelf for your closet. So I broke it down in the video, and all you need is 1x12 material and some 1x2s. And the most basic way, 2 vertical pieces, and then however many shelf boards you want. You attach them with wood glue and a nail gun, and then you use the cleats to mount it to the wall. And so obviously the video shows it a lot better than I'm explaining it now, but it's just a super simple and efficient way to create basically a custom closet.
Did you build the closet or the shelving on the ground and then stand it up, or did you build it in place?
Yeah, I built it separate on a workbench, and then I even installed the 1x2 cleat before I put everything into the closet.
And Chelsea, this new shelf you added is above the existing closet shelf or below
She
it?
already had a vertical divide for her closet rod.
Okay.
And so I only had to build one vertical and then attach it to that existing vertical.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
So now she can reach all her purses.
that's right. She has a secret hiding spot for her candy to hide it from her siblings.
Oh,
That's essential.
Yeah.
I know the one that she's hiding it from too as well. But a lot of times when you're looking at an existing closet, as you're mentioning here, all you really need to do is to add that. And when you're talking about creating little cubicles like that, that works great for shoes, for purses, for sweaters, a lot of different things that you can put in there. You're basically increasing the lineal footage of shelving that you have available. So you need to check this out at checkinginwithchelsea.com. You'll see how easy it is to do that. And while you're there, look at all the dozens and dozens of other videos of some really clever projects there that might be just what you're looking for around your home. I know you're staying busy, but let me ask you, we had a question that came in that I wanted to have you answer. It says, on a recent television show, you installed some light sconces that weren't hardwired. I'd like to do the same, but don't know how. I would like to put one sconce on each side of a large painting. Now, I remember this project on the Today's Homeowner television show where you actually did that. I thought it was pretty cool. I saw the electric fixture, and I'm going, whoa, now we got to run power down this line, and you just told me to sit back and relax, and it really turned out well. Tell us how you converted that to basically a battery-powered LED light.
There's just a maybe $5 part in the electrical aisle. It has the base that looks like the base of a light bulb. And then it has a plug. It's less than 2 inches tall. So you get that small electrical part, and then you have battery-powered puck lights, for lack of a better term, that are push button. It's like the top of the light. You push it to turn it on. You can hot glue or duct tape that to the little that electrical part. Then you can screw that whole thing into the light bulb socket of your fixture. But there's no concern about power because the fixture isn't wired anywhere, so you don't have to worry about, getting hot glue in an electrical circuit. And then the puck lights come with a remote control, so you can just, aim it towards the light, turn it on. It has a timer, so you can set it to turn off automatically, or you can just turn it off with the remote.
I tell you, it really turned out well, and I think you were highlighting some of the special family pictures that this homeowner had.
Right.
And she's always wanted some and didn't know how to get that power in there, and you sure solved that problem. You should go and check out the video. It's available right now at todayshomeowner.com. Just put in wall sconce in the search engine there, and it'll guide you right to it and show you step by step on how to do it. Well, Chelsea, I know that you're busy, and we appreciate you spending some time with us, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
That's really a great solution when you think about it. And the LED lights with the batteries and so forth, I mean, heck, they'll last a long, long time since you're only using it from time to time, you know.
Well, we're getting to the point where fewer and fewer things are hardwired. You wonder, at some point you're going to have lights that you can just stick on a wall anywhere and use them remotely. With, they'll just draw power wirelessly from some source somewhere in your house. Yeah, it's pretty amazing how fast this technology is zooming out, way out into the future, way beyond where we thought we'd be just a few years ago.
Exactly. Now it's time for our podcast question of the week. Hey, we'd love to get a question from you. All you have to do is go to todayshomeowner.com/podcast and leave us your question or comment. This one came in from Carl in Jacksonville, Florida. I have a paver driveway that's made up of 6 by 9 inch concrete pavers. I want to reseal and resand it, but the gaps between the pavers are very small, only about a 1/16 to an 1/8 inch wide. I'd like to use polymeric sand, but heard that it's only good for joints measuring 1/4 inch or larger. If I can't use polymeric sand, what should I use? We get some pretty heavy rains here in North Florida, and I'd like to prevent the sand from being washed out of there. Thank you in advance. Well, Joe, I've certainly dealt with a lot of different pavers, and I think he could still use the polymeric sand, even though they, and I know the reason they're saying 1/4 inch is so that it just has, some mass to bond together.
Right.
But I still think that's going to hold up better than, another type of real fine sand that's going to inevitably wash away whether you put the sealer on it or not. What's your thought?
Yeah, if it's mostly 1/8 inch wide, I think you could probably get away with it. 1/16 inch wide, I don't know what he could put in there. I mean, regular place sand, I don't know if anything would really filter down in there. I know that last time I used Quikrete makes one called, I think it's called like Power Lock polymeric jointing sand. It's known as jointing sand because it fills the joints.
Yeah.
And they recommend a 1/4 inch all the way up to 2 inches. Now, first of all, I'm not sure why you'd have a 2-inch gap between pavers.
Yeah,
but this stuff actually maintains its integrity up to 2 inches wide, which is pretty amazing. But they say 1/4 inch is the minimum. I'm not sure what happens if you put it in 1/8 inch. Maybe not enough gets in, like you said, and it won't hold. But it certainly can't hurt.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
If regular sand's get it washed out, I guess this could get washed out.
And just when you're putting that, Carl, when you're putting that sand down on top of that surface, you want to go, at a 45-degree angle with your broom to really force that in and just keep going back and forth. It'll keep gobbling up that sand. You'll be surprised. And just get as much in there as you can. And then once you get it nice and clean, then, to put the sealer on top of it, I would suggest using a really good pump-up garden sprayer and keep everything mixed well and just saturate it. Just don't saturate it at one time, but just put an even coat on it, get to the end of the driveway, turn around, go ahead and put another coat on there. 2 to 3 coats always kind of locks things in a little bit better. It'll repel a lot of the stains and so forth that you're going to have on it, and it should allow that sand to lock in so that you won't have any of those voids there that you want to avoid. So if you'd like to send us an email, go to todayshomeowner.com/ask. If you'd like to give us a call on the world famous Today's Homeowner Hotline, you can do that as well. 800-946-4420. I'm Danny Lipford along with my buddy Joe Truini, and one of the things we like to do is to take a few of the calls that came in on the hotline. Again, you can call it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can leave your question, and we get to as many of them as we can every week. Let's get started with that.
Yes, I have to replace the inside of the toilet tank, and I'm wondering, do you have to shut the water off, or you just drain it and then do it, or can you just buy a piece that just inserts somehow? How does one go about doing that?
Okay. Well, you have a cutoff there at the wall that you can turn the cutoff valve off. Then you can flush the toilet and drain all of the water out of there. There's most of the time it'll drain it enough that you can repair or replace any of the components in the tank itself. Now I will say though, a lot of times that's one of those things we talk about, Joe, that people, we tell people to go around and work their valves.
Right, exercise.
Once a year, but that's one of those things that get put way down on the list. But, a lot of times those things will not turn the water completely off. If they don't cut it all the way off, then if it's very slow, you might get a big Tupperware container to allow it to drip in while you're doing your repairs. Or you may have to go out to the street, the curb, and cut it off completely. But now Fluid Master has these incredible repair kits, and you can buy an all-in-one kit that has everything you could possibly ever need, and then you're getting what's wrong, whatever there might be, whatever piece might not be working right within the toilet. You have just what you need. I actually repaired a toilet at my place at the beach there, and it had just what I needed in there. I pulled it right out. It didn't even take 5 minutes to take care of it. But a lot of times, if it's just not working properly and not flushing properly, you'll be able to take care of whatever it is within that. But Joe, it's so easy putting that together. You might as well just go ahead and rebuild the whole entire thing, because it really only takes about 10 minutes to do it.
Yeah, when you look inside the toilet tank, if you haven't done it in a while, it might look kind of complicated, or all those parts, but really it is a very simple system. It's amazing how effective toilets flush, and with the new mechanisms, and it's just gravity for the most part. It's usually just gravity. But yeah, the term is exercise the valves, or valves in your house that you should turn on and off, even if you just do it once a year, just to make sure that if you do need to turn it off, you can, because they do seize up over time. I had one recently, a neighbor has had a leak from her refrigerator from the water line in the ice maker, and I went to turn off the little valve under her kitchen sink, and it was just rusted, frozen. There's no way to turn it off, so we had to go to plan B, I guess it would be. But in any case, exercise those valves, and the replacement of the toilet tank parts inside is really pretty quick. And like you said, 5 minutes and it's done.
That's why we always like to remind you to know where your water cutoff is, and of course, your gas cutoff and power cutoff, everything, in case you need it in a hurry, need to turn something off in a hurry. You need to make sure you have the proper tool and know exactly what to do. If that's not the case at your house, you need to go ahead and do that this weekend. Find out exactly how to cut those things off. Hopefully you'll never need that information or that cutoff tool, but if you do, you'll be glad that you've taken just a couple minutes to recognize that. Let's go back to the hotline for another call.
Hi, my water pipes sound awful when I flush the commode. I have turned my water off and drained all the water out of the lines and turned the water back on, and they'll be quiet for a day or two, and then they start rattling again really bad. I'll be listening to see what you say. Thank you. Bye.
Well, usually whenever you have a rattling sound, it's air trapped in the lines, and it's called water hammer because it sounds like a hammering sound. I assume that's what this must be. And that's caused from air that gets trapped in the water lines, and as the water rushes to fill a valve, or fill, in this case, a toilet or whatever, and then it shuts off, the water hits against the pipe and it rattles, especially if the pipes are loose inside the wall. They're usually held in place with some kind of strap or hanger, and once those come loose over time, they have more space, they rattle around. There's a couple of ways to fix it. There are water hammer devices that a plumber can install. They used to install just extra vertical length of pipe that contained air, and that would solve the problem, but only for a while, because what would happen eventually, that air would get absorbed into the pipe, and then you'd have the same issue. It might take a while, but you'd have the same issue. So they make a device, has like a little bladder in it that absorbs that vibration. So I suspect that's what it is. It's an easy fix. A plumber could fix it probably in a couple of hours. Might require some cutting open a wall, which you'd have to fix, but that's I'm assuming that's what it is, water hammer.
And also, I think the expansion tanks that are available to position above your water heater also are designed to help minimize a lot of those water hammers, because they can be very aggravating and kind of unsettling when you hear those things rattling around inside the walls. Of course, if you're remodeling and you have a wall open like that, use that as a time to resecure all of those pipes and make sure that they're good and tight. When we come back, we get in the aisles of the Home Depot with our friend Danny Watson. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The sound of you doing is music to our ears. Order on the Home Depot app and get convenient delivery, so you don't have to stop doing when you need something. The Home Depot app, how doers get more done.
Hope everything's going well around your home. If not, you need a little something. Well, let's go in the aisles right now at the Home Depot with our friend Danny Watson. Hey, Danny, I was thinking about some of the Ecosmart bulbs and all of the different things in the aisles of Home Depot, all of the different bulbs. I'll bet you've had to do a little studying on some of these bulbs because, boy, it's changing quick.
Danny, you're right. And, I'm always asking some of my experts over in the lighting section to keep me in check on the latest and greatest because they are always evolving. But these Ecosmart bulbs are great. Danny, they're going to save you 85% less in energy costs, and they have a long life. And, they come in 4 different types. So they have your BR, which is like your indoor, and your PAR, which is your outdoor and indoor. They're weatherproof. Your decorative, which is going to be more like your candelabras, and your vintage decorative, which are those popular Edison bulbs. But these are great bulbs. They're LED, and they're going to save you a lot on that energy bill.
Previously, with the incandescents, you're finding yourself almost every weekend changing some bulbs out. But with the LEDs and having, 25,000 hours lifetime out of those, you're not going to have that on your weekend list very often. I think that's a phenomenal thing. And the lower temperature, as well as being able to save that energy, it starts really clicking when people understand those advantages.
You're right. And they stay a lot cooler. Just like you're saying, I noticed my older bulbs that I've changed out, they had so much heat that they would generate, and these new ones stay so much cooler. And Danny, I also want to mention choosing the right bulb actually with the color of your paint. We don't always think of lighting with the color of our room. Like if you have cooler tones, which are going to be like blues, grays, and greens, you're going to reach for that daylight bulb, which is going to complement those cooler colors. And then when you have the warmer tones like the reds, orange, or yellow, you're going to reach for that soft white or that bright white, which again is going to help warm that room and complement those tones.
You can look at it, on your hands or shirt or whatever, and you can say, okay, well, that looks good, but that looks kind of dull. That's not very crisp. It's really wild what they can do.
Sometimes the shades can be overwhelming to people or complicated. Keep in mind, every store has that lighting kiosk that shows you the different ones. And I encourage people to always bring in their paint swatches and stuff and put it under there before they buy the bulb, because the lighting will change the color of the walls.
Well, one of the things that we know that we can rely on there in the aisles of Home Depot is that you have the people that can help you out, the displays in the lighting area, very, very good. You mentioned the Edison bulbs, extremely popular in a lot of those light fixtures that have the exposed bulbs. So I know that if anyone has any questions at all on the type of bulbs to use, all of the LEDs that are available in the Ecosmart entire line of products, they can head down there right now. Danny Watson, thanks so much, and keep up with all those lighting changes. Something's happening just about every week.
That's right. Thank you so much, Danny.
I have seen that kiosk at the Home Depot, and I've played with it, but I never thought to take a paint chip, but to put the paint chip in there, because color is nothing more than a reflection of light. So if you have a particular light, it's obviously going to look different under one type of bulb than the other. Maybe we all just need to paint our houses all white, then just adjust the color of the bulb.
That's right.
How about
exactly.
that?
Yeah.
The paint manufacturer would love that idea.
Well, I'll tell you, with all of the production that we do on our television show, we have these special LED lights that you have the color control on it, so you can make it more natural light, you can make it warmer, you can do that. So it's amazing when they're taping the show how they can do that kind of thing. But a lot of things to keep up with, but you can always rely on Home Depot having the latest and greatest things that you need for your home. Okay, it's time for one of the favorite parts, the time when Joe Truini shares with us yet another simple solution.
All right, Danny, when hanging or mounting objects to a wall, it's always best to drive the nail or screw into a wall stud, of course, for the most support. But how do you know exactly where the studs are? Well, a lot of people buy an electronic stud finder, and I've had a few, and I've never found them to be very reliable. I can't get the darn things to work, or the battery's dead, whatever. So here's a simple way to find a stud using a string and a magnet. Now, you might be wondering, how do you find a wooden stud with a magnet? Well, you can't, but what you can find are the nails or screws that are holding the drywall to the stud, and that's the trick. So here's all you need to do. First, get a small magnet. I usually try to get a little round rare earth magnet because they're super strong. It has to be like maybe an inch in diameter, even smaller. And just tape it to a string, a length of string that's maybe 18 inches long or so. Then you just hold the string so that the magnet is dangling along below the string, right close to the wall, and just slide it along the wall. And when the magnet passes over a nail head or a screw head, it'll just stick to the wall. Now, drywall is typically installed horizontally, and it's 4 foot wide, so you might want to start like 4 feet above the floor, just slide it back and forth. And I just shot a video of this, which you can go to todayshomeowner.com/simple-solutions and see that video. And you'll see it just sticks right to it, and that indicates where the stud is. And then studs are typically 16 or sometimes 24 inches on center, but it's typically 16. So you can just measure over 16 inches and find the next one. But sometimes they're not exactly 16 inches and a little harder to find. But this magnet will find them each and every time just by sliding it very slowly across the wall.
Well, that's about as simple as it gets right there. And it's kind of ironic when you think about, a $30
right.
stud sensor or stud finder not working as well as just a plain old magnet hanging on a string. So as Joe mentioned, you can see exactly how to do this and how well it works by going to todayshomeowner.com/simple solutions. Yeah, that's a good one, Joe. I enjoyed that video just the other day. If you'd like to send us a question, we'd love to get one. todayshomeowner.com/podcast. Thank you so much for those great reviews we've been getting. Keep them coming. Take some time right now to go ahead and write a simple review. That means a lot so that it'll allow us to reach even more people here on the Today's Homeowner podcast. I'm Danny Lippert along with my buddy Joe Truini. Thanks so much for being with us, and we'll see you next week.